Hey everybody, Anthony here from Gamekraft with thegameraccess.com, and today I'm going to give my video review on Dragon Age 2. If you have forgotten about Dragon Age Origins, that's perfectly fine. Dragon Age Origins is a fantasy western RPG from BioWare released in November of 2009, and despite winning a few RPG awards that year, the game was quickly forgotten when Mass Effect 2 came out 2 months later and became highly regarded as the next pinnacle of gaming. Origins pretty much felt like filler between Mass Effect 1 and 2, something for BioWare fans to enjoy while waiting for Commander Shepard's next mission. Dragon Age 2's release date also sits conveniently between the releases of Mass Effect 2 and 3, but BioWare made the effort to address Origins' biggest problems. Pretty much almost everything has been changed, and while this solved many problems, it also introduced new ones. The story begins with the destruction of Hawke's home of Lothering in Ferelden. Hawke and the family barely escaped the Darkspawn in time and began fleeing to the city-state of Kirkwall located far to the north in the Free Marches. Hawke's mother claims that they have family there and an estate. Upon arrival, however, Hawke discovers that her uncle lost all the family nobility through debt and selfishness. These are not the only problems in Hawke's world. As Hawke gains fame in Kirkwall over the next decade, the city faces ever-stressful relationships with the Qunari and the widening rift between the Templars and the Mages. The story concept itself is pretty good. Hawke's rise to power was conceived quite well and is a decent piece of originality to storytelling. As expected of any main BioWare game, the dialogue is consistently well written and performed. New to Dragon Age is the conversation wheel from the Mass Effect series, which includes the good guy, bad guy, and sarcastic middle options. However, half of the decisions you will make in this game are thought-provoking. There are many instances where you will pause to think about who to support, as the people in the world around you can have very different opinions. This type of decision making is one of the game's best features, and it is a much better way of making choices than mindlessly picking all good or all bad options. While the story concept is quite good and well written, it suffers from two major problems. The first is one or two of your companions are likely to be forgotten and hardly ever chosen. The character isn't too compelling if their personalities are very narrow, and it also doesn't help if the character hardly has any meaningful conversations. The other major problem with the story is the lack of a proper climax. Dragon Age 2's story is split between two major antagonists. After the first antagonist is dealt with, the second major problem of the city lacks the development needed for a climactic ending. By the time the game ends, you are left confused as to where the big moment was. Graphically, the game looks far better than Origins in every way. The color and textures have been drastically improved, the modeling is up to decent standards, and there are no styrofoam trees. All of the cool blood effects are still there and look better. The PC version of the game gets the unique privilege of DirectX 11 rendering, further enhancing the graphical appeal of the game. With all this graphical improvement comes the problem of everything looking the same. By that I mean every estate looks the same, almost every cave has the exact same layout, and nothing changes visually in Kirkwall even when the story progressed 7 years. Dragon Age 2 lacks setting variety. The sound has seen a noticeable amount of improvement. In addition to the improved sound quality, the voice acting complements the well-written dialogue very nicely. The sound effects are more intense, helping with the faster gameplay style. The music is a bit of a mixed thing. Most of the time you won't notice the music playing in the background, but the tracks that you do take notice of have a very unique and appealing style. The gameplay in Dragon Age 2 holds the basics from Origins and lets you choose between a mage, warrior, or rogue class. They solved the lack of intensity from Origins with a much faster combat style. Not only do you and your companions attack much faster, but with much more style. All the special abilities and spells look really cool and are much more useful. The skill advancements during leveling have been simplified, making it easier to keep track of what abilities you have. They also fixed the problem of walking for endless hours in caves in dreamy worlds. Getting to where you need to go is now a lot easier. While BioWare fixed some of the gameplay complaints, they also introduced some new ones. To make the fighting more intense, you have to keep tapping the attack button to keep your character doing damage, and it gets old pretty fast. On the PC version, the game controls like a somewhat clumsier World of Warcraft. Item and equipment management has been simplified, yet somehow feels more cumbersome, and the tactics mechanics still haven't stood out. Dragon Age 2 proves to be a decent experience. It looks far better than Dragon Age Origins, it retains the Dragon Age feel and brings forward many story choices that are more than just choosing good and evil. Unfortunately, in an attempt to fix the first game's biggest problems and bring the Dragon Age series to a level of improvement seen in Mass Effect 2, they introduced some new complaints. The result was a good game that isn't quite as good as the first Dragon Age. Even so, Dragon Age 2 is a good game, and I'm giving it an 8.0 out of 10.